Hello, this is Josh Belk with the Belk on Business podcast. What you're about to listen to is a recording that we did with Tom Olson with the Good Success Community and Damon Riehl with loanbids.com. That's bids with a Z. And hopefully you find this particular recording helpful. We talk a lot on the front end about leadership and communication during this time. And then we get into some of the specifics as we know it as of today in regards to the stimulus package, as well as the loan component, which Damon will get into, especially in the second half of the recording. Hope you find this helpful. If you're looking for a mastermind community, I would highly recommend the Good Success Community, which the three of us are in. It consists of a lot of real estate, financial, medical, and other professionals in the group that we're able to really kind of get together and help each other as a community. Hope you find this recording valuable to you. Have a wonderful day.
We actually have, I've got Josh Belk here, and today we're going to talk about three things. We're going to talk about, number one, what should business owners be doing right now? A lot of times business owners are looking at what's going on right now with the coronavirus and looking at, more cases and looking at like the people that are not employed and thinking to themselves, so maybe, my tenants might not pay. There's a lot of fear and a lot of worry in the market right now. I kind of thought it would be a good thing to jump on as fast as I could and get the people that I know in our mastermind, both these people that are with us. Damon is with us and Josh is with us, both in the Good Success Mastermind, and just try to ask, hey, what should business owners be doing right now? That's the first thing we're going to do. And the second thing we're going to go over is the stimulus package. So we've got this CARES package right now that's sitting on the president's desk. And it's been through the House and Senate, and I'd like to know what's in it. Josh, do you know what's in it?
Well, we're starting to kind of work our way through it and get a good idea. So Chairman Grassley with Finance Committee did kind of issue kind of real high level. We'll run through that a little bit as far as everything that is in the package as we know it as of now.
So, and then we also have Damon. I'm going to kind of move this camera just a little bit, and I'll probably move it a little bit in and out. I've got Damon here on Zoom call with me as well. Some of you mastermind members know him, but he's with loanbids.com, and he's actually going to be helping us with this, and he's actually told us, hey, I can help people. I'm going to be able to have that on loanbids.com, and he's going to kind of wrap up this day in this session with how do we apply? Who should apply for these loans? Who is it going to help? Maybe you can tell us who it is for and who it's not for, and then maybe how somebody can maybe apply with you as well, Damon. Would that be okay?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Awesome. All right, cool. All right, so the first thing I want to do is just kind of like let's just go around the room and just kind of like at a high level, what should business owners be doing now? What should we be thinking about, Josh? I mean, Good Success, we're all about the right person doing the right thing for the right reason, with the right people for the right amount of time. Well, guess what? This is the time that the leaders actually show that they're leaders. And this is the time where you kind of see like who's going to give up and who's going to throw in the towel and who's actually going to do the hard thing and make the hard decision. So Josh, I know you've done a couple of podcasts on your own on this already, but just give us a couple minutes of what do you think that business owners should be doing now? What should we be thinking, and how do we make it through this? And maybe even more importantly, how do we take advantage of the opportunities that are going to be out there in the market right now?
Yeah, I think a couple things. First of all, and Tom, you hit the nail right on the head. You said the word lead. As business owners, and for those of you that are out there that are business owners in our businesses right now, it is time to step up and lead. And if we're operating in a fear mindset, all of us are a little bit, I don't want to say scared, but a little bit, we are anxious. There is, I think, probably a little bit of fear in all of us. And as an owner of an accounting firm, we've already lost clients. We've had people emailing us, what can we cut back? And that's natural. I get it. And so, for us, it's, we're kind of nervous. Okay, well, what's the future hold for us? For I'm sure a lot of real estate investors will be listening to this. For them, questions in regards to, are my tenants going to pay? Am I going to be able to pay my lenders? And so for all of us, there is that, we're all a little bit nervous, a little bit anxious, a little bit maybe even scared right now. But I kind of really go back, and a verse that's just been kind of, and when I go to scripture, that's kind of going over and over in my head is, how do we respond in these times? Because we're not called to act within fear. We're really commanded to operate with a sound mind. To be bold is to be bold in our leadership, to really operate in a way that aligns with our core values, and to really lead our people during this time. And for all of us, and even for those of you who are listening who aren't business owners, you lead a family. And whether you're a mom, whether you're a dad, you need to lead in that area and try to bring calm. And I think one primary way in business that we can do this is really to communicate. So one way I think, and communicate effectively and communicate well, to communicate with if you're a real estate investor, with your lenders, communicate with your tenants, communicate as a business owner with your employees. And of course, now we have a great deal of clarity with ultimately what this bill is going to look like. I think it's about 800 pages. Damon, maybe you can confirm that. I think it's about 800 pages.
Have you read the whole thing, Josh?
No. It was kind of funny. 2 nights ago, the bill, I think, passed, the initial bill passed about 1 a.m. And I literally wake up and I get up, I'm up about 4:45 or so, 5 o'clock to do my morning routine. I think part of this is like, stay in your routine. Get up in the morning, get your your time spiritually in, get your scripture reading, your prayer time in, get your exercise in, continue to do those things. I think those things are extremely important still, and even maybe more important now. But I got up that morning, I already had text messages. What does this thing say? How does this help? And I'm like, you think I was up at 1 a.m.
You haven't read it yet, Josh?
Right? Yeah,
it got passed at 1 a.m. I mean, you should know what it means.
I don't know if any of us are sick enough to read all the pages of that. But anyway, I think what's there, I think is really going to help provide some clarity and maybe help diminish a little bit as far as trying to address some of the unknowns. Because this stimulus package really does do a lot, and regardless of where you're at on the spectrum, I think probably both sides of the aisle did a really good job finally to come together to put something together that really I think will be helpful both for individuals and for businesses to try to get us through in some ways what we're looking at, probably what's going to be at least another quarter or so of some tumultuous times.
And it's actually interesting you said that because I remember going to the Hill because I've gone to Washington several times in the last couple of years, and a couple of the times we go and we actually the whole purpose for us to go there is to actually pray with our legislators. And we were there from one of the ladies from Indiana, and we asked her, what things should we actually pray for you? And she said, pray for civility within Congress. So like sometimes I think we think about, so we pray for things. We pray, maybe if you're a real estate entrepreneur, you might have been praying for deals, right? Well, guess what? God answered your prayer. We were praying for, civility in Congress. Well, guess what? They had to come together to make this happen. And even like you said, even though there's a little bit of bickering and a little bit of posturing, it did seem like in the end, like I think it wasn't the Senate 95 to 0 or something. It was a pretty good, vote and they had to come together and be able to make things happen.
I agree. And so I think that as much as you're right, the bickering that went on, kind of some of the pork and nonsense that was in there, they finally kind of worked their way through their disagreements to get something that I think is helpful for all of us.
Yeah, I love that. I'm going to bring my phone over here to Damon. So Damon, what do you got for us? What do you think we should be doing right now?
Well, I think like a lot of business owners, I'm in the same boat. I'm trying to figure out how to do what's best for my employees, first of all, and then also for our business going forward. So some of the biggest challenges that we're going through right now is trying to predict the unknown. And the unknown really is how long this will last, what the impact will be. And I think every business owner is trying to think about that and think about how this stimulus package that is passed is going to help them in their own specific way. So realistically, it's going to be different for every business owner, what their current situation is as far as whether they can afford to keep people on board, whether they're going to be forced to furlough people or lay them off completely. And, I agree completely with what Josh and Tom were saying, and it's that the key thing for business owners is try to stay as much in your routine as you can. Try to keep your people in the same routine as you can while you're making these decisions as the situation brings itself forward. So I think continue to get up every day with a positive attitude and keeping that that hopeful spirit with your teams and your leadership now is more important than ever.
Yeah, that's good. That's awesome. I appreciate that, Damon. Thank you so much for that. So I've actually come up with this 12 steps that I actually think that all entrepreneurs should be thinking about right now. And the people that I talk to is kingdom focused entrepreneurs, people that really want to work to have to give and have a purpose and a meaning in what they do. So actually I'm coming out with ebooks. Everybody will get it for free. I'm just really trying to help business owners and be a help to the business owners. But the very first step on that was communication. And Josh already talked about that. I think the other thing that we have to do is so communication is not just with our vendors. It's not just with our customers. It's also creating a new communication plan for our employees. For us, for instance, a lot of us are working at home now. My office right now is kind of almost empty. Normally, Josh would come into my office and we'd do a podcast and there'd be 15, 20 people in here and they'd be buzzing. But right now, everybody's kind of working from home. So creating that new communication pattern with your employees, I think, is very important. Something that I've done and I'm going to continue to do for the next 2 weeks is I'm actually doing a daily video for them. And I said, you know what, maybe I might need to step back and stop investing into the educating people on Facebook and educating people outwardly and really focus on my team right now and actually trying to educate them and trying to invest into them. I'm even doing a challenge every day to them, trying to get them to wake up at a certain time or drink enough water or say the things that they're thankful for and really kind of be that leader that Josh talked about. So, and then I think you also have to have a plan for your employees. Where are they going to work? Or do you need to lay off people? Some people, I know dentists, right now are having to lay off a lot of my dentist friends. Some of them completely just shut down for the month. Some of them are about like half and half. They've kept half of their employees for the time being, and they can only do emergency things. Unemployment, I think at least in Indiana, there's different. This is state by state, but Indiana just passed this thing where unemployment now there is no more 1 week stay. Is that correct, Josh? So now, and for some employees that might be better for them. And I think you as an employer, we have to think about those things. Who needs to work from home? Who can work from home? And for us, we've taken the stance that I want to be supportive of what the governor says. I believe that every one of my companies, I could say, we are essential, and it's even written in the bill that our governor said. But even though that's the case, I'm still taking the stance that I'm making everybody work from home that can work from home during this time. And I want to keep them safe, and I want them to know that we're making provisions for them and that we're caring enough about them and we care about their safety. And especially the people in our business that are elderly. I've got people that have had cancer. I've got people that have diabetes. Those people are more at risk right now, and I'm trying to even have more precautions when it comes to that. We've had a different policy at work. Guess what? We're kind of a hugger type. We hug, we shake hands. We've stopped that. Like, we're not shaking hands, we're not hugging, and it's not something that I don't really like, but it is what it is. We've been Lysoling everything down every single night. We've been taking extra precautions with all that kind of stuff. And then in our business, I think it's a great time to ask your leadership team and ask the people, what should you stop doing? What are the things in your business that you should stop doing right now? Like, I think budget can dictate that a little bit. I think you talked about this a little bit on one of your podcasts. Like, go through your budget and look at the things that are absolutely essential. And normally you might review your budget every month. Well, guess what? Like, you might be reviewing your budget every week or maybe even every day if need be. So know what you need to stop doing during this period of time. One of those things that we stopped doing is paying for marketing for our particular products right now. I believe and actually for us, we're looking at April 15th as the date to kind of start reopening that. But paid marketing right now for your normal product may not be something that's really good to do. Damon's in a different situation. Damon right now, you probably should be paying for marketing because everybody's going to be wanting to know how in the world do I apply for this stuff. So unless it applies to the package, unless it applies to healthcare or the businesses that are thriving right now, because I think that's one thing we need to understand. There's half of the businesses out right now are like booming. Amazon's gone crazy. Grocery stores have gone crazy. Healthcare has gone crazy. So there are a bunch of people on the other side hiring. Yes, unemployment's the worst ever and I actually think that the main reason for that is because most of the industries that were hit in this have been because it's more the people that would get unemployment if they were off. Like in the 2008 era, it was a lot of construction workers. Well, a lot of those people are 1099. They don't even qualify for unemployment. And if they would have, they probably would have been a lot more during that period of time. So what should we stop doing? What should we start doing? I think this is a great time right now. If you've heard any of the other people talking right now, what in your business, and this Damon's a great conversation for this. What parts of your business should you be changing, or can you add an ancillary piece right now that is going to be useful now, but it can help keep your business going and help keep your business thriving? And Damon's taking that stance. He's not normally somebody that does all these SBA loans, right? Right, Damon?
We do some of them, but it hasn't been our core business. That's
Right.
for
So
sure.
but now Damon's thinking, hey, this is an opportunity to add value to the marketplace. I need to focus on this a lot more than I maybe would have focused on if this didn't happen. So think about that in your business and how you can, and Josh, obviously same thing. I mean, people are texting you. You might lose some clients because they're going to throw in the towel, but then you got other clients that are going to be like, how can you help me through this as well? Also, I do think everybody should be doing, if you haven't already done this, a financial impact research on your own company. What is this going to, this is going to affect every one of our businesses in some way, shape, or form. So trying to do that research on your own business and knowing what that means, knowing what cash on hand you have right now is very important. If you did not have any new revenue come in for the next month, what would that look like? And we've done that on every one of our businesses, and it's been really good for us to see that, but also kind of be tracking this, and for me, almost on a daily basis. How long will that cash last? Like some companies, 2 months, 3 months. I mean, I know you said that sometimes companies are like maybe a week or two. That they're that, but know what that means for you. And then for us, we've also looked into contingency loans and looked into if for some reason we did need other ways of capital, how would we possibly tap into those, whether it's local banks or some kind of lines of credit or private lenders. This might be a great time if you don't have private lenders to try to cultivate those relationships. I know Jim Ingersoll was on a podcast this morning talking about that as well. And so those are kind of the things that I'm putting out in this ebook. And but today, so that was kind of the first thing we wanted to go over, is what should business owners be thinking? I also think that right now, more than ever, is the time where we have to turn off the negative news. We have to get ourselves away from it, and we have to focus, because it's been really hard to focus. And me, I'm probably the worst person with any of you guys about anxiety. Like anxiety is my weakness. That is like my thing that I'm always kind of concerned about. I'm always concerned. I'm always thinking like, what if this, what if that? And I've got to shut that off. I've got to fill myself with good news and try to find the good in this. But also, I think in business, we have offense and defense. And I think it's a time to think about how are we going to be playing. Right now, we might be playing defense for a week or two, but as soon as we get back on that field and we're on offense, we better be ready to take advantage of the opportunities. In my opinion, the next 3 to 6 months will be the absolute best time to take advantage of those opportunities, maybe in the next 5 years, especially if you're in real estate. So I think we should be thinking about that, and we shouldn't be throwing in the towel right now. We should be saying, we should have expected this. And now that it's actually here and it's coming, we need to find a way to take advantage of the opportunities that will be there. I was on a phone call, and I'll end with this and then let Josh get into the stimulus package. But I was on a phone call a couple of days ago with single family office people. And the first thing I heard out of their mouth was they went to cash on January 28th. So they were way ahead of this. And when I heard that they went to 95% cash on January 28th, I thought to myself, maybe this is more serious than I thought it was. Maybe we're never going to get out of this. All those like thoughts of fear and panic just like came over me. And I thought to myself, oh my goodness, what in the world? People that have hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars went to 95% cash in January. And I wasn't even thinking about this. It wasn't even on my radar until the middle of February. And, but later on in the conversation, it was like, it turned from like a very discouraging thought to probably the most encouraging conversation I've had in the last 2 weeks. They are already buying. And you know what they said? They said, guess what? We already know what sectors are going to be the most impacted. And guess what? We're going to be buying. They already know that healthcare is not going to be the place to buy right now because their healthcare is going to be booming. They already know, like everything's already been known to us. And in that knowledge gives us power. We know where we're going to be able to go and buy and buy those deals that we never would have been able to buy if we didn't have this winter, so to speak, in our economy that we're going to go through right now. So I think every single business owner needs to be thinking about what parts of that you can take advantage of. And I'm the same way. I even wrote a note to my lenders telling them, hey, we are going to be buyers. In the next 3 to 6 months, we may buy more properties than we can even keep up with on the rehab, because this is going to be the best time to buy, I believe, in the next 5 years, in the next 3 to 6 months. So make sure you think about that and what opportunities you can have in your business. And that's what I'm focused on in my business. So Josh, let's get into the stimulus package. I know a lot of people, a lot of listeners out there that are listening. Hey, Amelia. Hey, Josh. Hey, Tim.
I have Ken and
Mike Wittig.
Yeah, Mike Wittig, you're on. I see that. John Cisneros. Hey, how you doing, buddy? Rusty, and then Joseph, Sheila, Caleb, Phil, Barb, Cheryl. Good to see you. That you're joining us today, and wonderful. Tom, I don't think you introduced who we are on the front end.
I'm so sorry. Yeah. So I've got Josh Belk here. He's an accountant with Belk Accounting and
Belk and Associates.
Belk and Associates, yeah. And then I've got Damon Riehl with Loan Bids as well, and we're kind of just going over this CARES package and kind of just telling people what business owners should be doing right now. And Josh and Damon kind of already gave their spiel. That was kind of my big spiel, was to actually tell what business owners should be doing right now. And then Josh is going to kind of have this next part. He's going to really explain to us what is in this CARES package, right? C-A-R-E-S. Is that just like for something?
Yeah. I have to actually read it here. CARE system enhancement and economic stabilization. So I guess we'll just call it CARES.
CARES, yeah.
So the coronavirus stimulus package. There we go.
Yeah, I wrote a song, Josh. It goes like this. You don't want to get corona. Okay, I'll stop. I'm done.
Why did all of our listeners just go, okay. All right.
Oh.
So, all right, good deal. All right, so let's kind of run through this just a little bit. And what I have here in front of me actually is Chairman Grassley on the finance committee went through and kind of just really high. I'm not going to go through all this because some of this gets into railroad employees and some of this kind of stuff that probably nobody listening is into that. So
Brad is listening, and Brad is in the railroad.
Cool. All right, good deal. So we'll spend some time talking about that then. So, but anyway. So I know that kind of the two big areas that I think everybody had questions about was first this kind of these rebates. So ultimately what happens if you're a married couple making under $199,000 a year, they're going to give you $1,200 both for the husband and the wife. And then if you have any children in the home, 17 and under, additional $500. So there's
it's 199,000.
199,000.
Okay, I had heard it was like 99, or it was.
That was so if you're single, that's single versus being married. Yeah. So for most of the people listening who are watching this, and I know for a lot of my clients, won't be able to receive at least anything on that end, but I think for a great deal of people probably listening, that they will get the benefit of these rebate checks. Now, in regards to what ultimately this looks like. How quickly the IRS can get it out. I mean, they're wanting to have this money in the hands of the taxpayer for the next few weeks. Kind of reading what the IRS's kind of initial plans on this, what they're going to do. It's going to be difficult for them. One thing I want to keep in mind, if you're looking back and you have not filed your 2019 tax returns yet, and you look at your 2018s and you're over 200,000, and in 2019 you're under the 200,000, if you're a married couple, get your 2019 returns filed like today. Okay, because they're going to look either at the 2019, 2018s, and then if you end up over that going forward in 2020, it's not like you're going to have to repay the money.
So what if you were under in 2018, but you were over in 2019?
Hold off on filing. Yeah. So there's kind of a strategy component there. So
I like this. Like arbitrage.
Right. So yeah, definitely. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. You're kind of over under right on that timeline. So it may be kind of one of those things if you're over and you have the opportunity to be able to do anything as far from a tax planning end to reduce your adjusted gross income to where you fall below that threshold. Do it and do it now. Okay. So be proactive as it relates to.
So it's $1,200.
$1,200, right?
If it's married, $199,000, and then there's extra for kids.
Right. So $500 per child, and if they're 17 or under. Okay. So it's 99,000 single, coupled more than coupled under actually is 198,000. Where that number ended up falling. Kind of going through here, you guys see me shuffling my papers. Kind of where all ended up falling. But so that's first of all. Secondly, let me kind of talk a little bit about the unemployment side. A lot of states, including we're here in Indiana, just outside of Chicago. Damon, where are you at?
I'm in Springfield, Missouri.
Missouri, Missouri, but I didn't know where about in Missouri. I was down in your neck of the woods here just a couple weeks ago. I both were. I know here in Indiana, for example, the Department of Workforce Development, which is our unemployment department, has been very proactive as far as getting information out to employers to try to make it easy to be able to file unemployment electronically. So if you're a business owner, you had to lay off any of your employees, get that information in their hands. And then there's also an additional $600 ultimately a week that they can receive if their unemployment ends up falling below where they were at as far as a take-home wage.
I gotcha. Okay.
So that is what that ends up looking like. I know initially there was kind of like this discussion of $600 more. It's going to incentivize people to be laid off, this type of thing. And but ultimately,
So it basically just gets them back up to what they were making.
Yes,
that makes sense.
Right, and so in many states, Indiana included, have stopped the waiting periods, trying to get people. I mean, literally, my office yesterday had a whole pile of unemployment forms come in. As an accountant, we file either the protest reports if there's a situation to where there does need to be a protest filed. So we end up getting a copy of those, and so we've been working with our clients in regards to helping. In a way, their employees be able to go ahead and take advantage of these unemployment benefits. So if you are a business owner, or if you're listening to this and you're in a boat to where you've been laid off, I mean, get out there, go online, file for your unemployment, get the ball rolling. That way, you can begin to get those benefits in. So and then also one thing that's been added, and I had this question sent to me, and initially the answer was no, but this came through. If you're a situation to where you're a 1099. Contractor for someone else, you can file for unemployment. Normally that is excluded, but now that is included. So I know for Jeff, if you watch this later, I know you had this question for me, and a couple others as well. That hopefully catch this, and I'll blast this out to you. But yes, so these freelancers, these types of people, they are also able to file for unemployment. If the state denies them on the federal end, they would be able to receive some unemployment benefits, and so that's in here as well. They're calling that pandemic emergency unemployment compensation. So there are some short-term compensation programs that are going into place, and so not to get too much into the weeds on this, but if you're a business owner and you've been impacted on this, you want to get your arms around this. Okay, and in a few minutes here, we'll turn this over to Damon. There is this. There's a few different acronyms or names this is being called in regards to handling payroll. Okay, so if you're not able to, your business has been impacted, my business has been impacted. I know for many businesses, they've simply just had to close their doors because there's these stay-at-home orders. So if they're a non-exempt business, fortunately my business is exempt. Tom, here being a real estate portions of some of your businesses are exempt, some of them are not exempt. And so our employees are impacted in different ways. So for any business out there who's had been impacted from an employment standpoint, they're able to, number one, get some sort of a tax credit, deferral of payments of Social Security benefits. Okay, so those provisions are in there. So the Social Security component, essentially, you can delay payment on that to 2021, 2022. So that option is there to kind of wait until kind of we get back into the recovery from this to be able to pay those back. Or there's also these what we call them PPLs, and Damon will talk about this a little bit later on in regards to the opportunity there to be able to go ahead and get a loan that can be forgiven if you hold on to the employees. Started back in March 13th. If you hold on to the employees for a while, ideally through June or to the end of the year, and then you can actually that portion of the loan would be forgiven. Okay, so the big question we're going to have is how do we access that? How do we get into that? They have opened the doors. I mean, historically, the SBA, it's all through the SBA. They have there's been certain banks that have had the opportunity to be able to essentially write SBA loans. Now I think they're opening this up to just about any bank out there. I believe, Damon, you may be able to correct me if I'm wrong on that, but that opportunity is there. And we have Damon here who can talk a little bit about sort of what that process looks like. So if you're a business owner, and also there's these disaster recovery loans that Damon will get into in regards to getting quick, either $10,000 or $25,000, up to $25,000 in quick access to cash, and then the remaining amounts of the loan to be paid out over time. For the railroad is normally it's a 7-day waiting period for unemployment benefits, and benefits on from the railroad that been eliminated for you, Brad, if you're out there watching and you've been impacted on this. So we'll throw the unemployment portion on there. Okay. we talked about the rebates and where that needs to fall. Retirement funds. So if you have to end up with an early withdrawal, you have to pull money out early during this time as a result of the impact. The 10% early withdrawal penalty is being removed.
Really?
Okay, so kind of keep that in mind.
That's a big deal.
Yeah. So yeah.
For some people, that's a big deal.
Yeah. So if it's kind of one of those situations you simply can't make it, you have some money in retirement, you're under 59 and a half, you can't pull it out without the early withdrawal penalty. That has been waived. Okay. And the requirement of the RMD for 2020 has also been removed. So there is no required minimum distribution from your retirement accounts.
Is that from all retirement accounts?
Yes.
Even inherited Roth IRAs?
Well, so no, no. So yeah, so those, so it's not all.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I know. Yeah.
Quincy, Walter had to just plug that in there for you guys.
Right, and they end up saying this. Yeah. Unfortunately, that's a conversation those guys love to have.
Okay.
Another kind of cool thing is there's now an above the line charitable contribution deduction. Normally, if you itemize, the only way you'd be able to use your charitable contribution is itemize. So there is a $300 above the line charitable contribution deduction for those. I'm sure just about everybody in our community gives more than $300 in the course of the year. But essentially $300 you can use above the line deduction for 2020. And also the 50% charitable contribution limit has also been lifted. So the 50% of adjusted gross income. The net operating loss, which was carryback, which was removed as part of the Tax Cut and Jobs Act, has also been removed for this year. So if you end up with a loss, you can actually go back and carry it back 3 years where you were not able to do that before. So and I do have some clients that are in a net operating loss position. That'll be something. As well? Yes, so that is something that we'll want to use. And also the percentage rules as far as net operating loss against income has also been lifted. So so there's a lot there. If your business ends up losing money, whatever the case may be, you have some net operating losses where you can carry back. All of those rules have been lifted, so you will be able to fully offset your net operating loss against other income. Okay. Employers.
If anybody needs to give, they can give to the communitygogiver.com.
Yeah, they can give right.
They can give right there, communitygogiver.com. Yeah. Just give it a plug.
Well, I know a lot of us involved in our church communities, and I cannot.
The churches definitely need your help right now.
Yeah, and I can't understand. I have the privilege of serving as a treasurer of a very large church, and Tom, both you and I attend, and I mean they're struggling right now. We have a church here locally, a pastor that called me this last week. Josh, what am I going to do? And at that point, really didn't have any answer. I'm looking forward to actually being able to reach out to him later today and saying, you know what, there's a lot here that can help churches. Now these loans that are normally, Damon, that are normally on your end, but normally excluded churches, these SBA loans and nonprofits, it actually does include them. So if you have a nonprofit, you have a church, it may something you may be able to get help with, and not really get into that because I'm not sure how many nonprofit people we have listening, but if you're a pastor or you run a nonprofit with employees, whatever the case may be, there's a lot in here for you. So make sure you dig into this, get a good understanding, call your accountant, and kind of begin to work your way through understanding what's there to be able to help your employees as well. So there are a lot of rules as it relates to these being able to pull money out and getting these loans. And I don't want to spend a whole lot of time going into that, except to simply make you aware that it's there. Damon, whatever you want to get into on that, please do here in just a moment. But there are some tax credits there, tax deferral payments, and also loan provisions out there to be able to help your business. I think getting much past that, I think really be kind of getting us into the weeds. I think.
So Josh, is this something that you pulled, or is this something that you wrote yourself?
No. This year, actually, what I did is Senator Grassley, for those of you on Facebook Live can see this. This is
Senator
for both of these. So the Senator Grassley's Committee on Finance, it literally goes through kind of a high level on each of these, each section in this CARES stimulus package, and really kind of gives a high level on exactly what is in each section of this particular act.
Awesome. So I'm just trying to give you guys some more resources. I'm sure there's going to be a lot more But it's always hard to kind of sift through what really applies to me and what really doesn't. So it is going to kind of be a little complicated for that. If somebody wanted to get a hold of you to be able to get help with any of this, how do they get a hold of you, Josh?
Well, they can contact my office phone number 219-365-9520.
How do you think, before we get to Damon on the actual loans and what he can provide and like just give it some more information about that, Josh, what do you think, big picture, like what is this actually going to do?
Okay, well, ideally what I think the entire goal on this was to try to keep for us kind of not falling through the floor economically. So kind of putting something there to where, so whether it's a business owner needs help as far as being able to pay their employees, and some of these loans, it covers, for example, it covers payroll cost, it covers rent, it covers interest, not principal on loans, health benefits, utilities, I think as well. So keep the doors open for businesses, keep individuals, deal with enough money coming in into their pockets to be able to keep their bills paid. So instead of us kind of just completely, the economy completely falling through this floor, for there to actually be a kind of a solid floor there to kind of help ride us through this time to where hopefully we can pick back up to where the economy was at just a few weeks ago and begin moving forward.
What do you see from this whole thing? Like just the coronavirus in general, the recovery from this? Is this, I mean, what I'm hearing, again, like you hear, it all depends on who you want to listen to. But from what I'm hearing from the people that have been through things similar to this, although we haven't really been through anything similar to this since like maybe 1918, and I'm not sure if it's going to be as bad as that. We don't really know. But like, is this a short-lived thing, which is kind of what I'm hearing from the people that I know? Or is this something that you think is going to be like a year's, it's going to take years and years to recover like 2008?
Well, I think for all of us, I think a lot of it just depends on whether or not us as a society can get this, stop this virus. And so ultimately, if this thing is able to be killed, and Tom and I were kind of violating the social distancing thing right now, but I think for all of us, we're kind of maintaining our distance, trying to make sure we're staying healthy, we're doing the things we're supposed to do. If this thing can end quickly, within the next month or so, then it's going to take some time for the wheel. I think the second and third quarter are going to be disastrous for all of us, very, very difficult. But I think once we kind of get closer to, remember, this is an election year. So I think, government, especially those who
There's some silver lining here. I haven't heard a whole lot of election talk.
Right.
This.
Yeah.
That's a good thing, right?
I think the best part of this entire whole ordeal is I have not heard the word impeachment in weeks. Praise the Lord. Okay. So, but anyway, on a serious note, I mean, it is an election year, and so there is a lot of kind of benefit, to those politically to kind of do everything that they can to make sure the economy, because if it falls apart, I mean, a lot of your incumbents are going to.
Doesn't matter who you are, on what side.
So you kind of have that kind of going for us as well. But I think honestly, by the time we get into late summer, things will turn around and get somewhat. I mean, we're going to be facing kind of this cliche, this new normal. But I honestly do think that things will be turned around and we'll start to see this uptick again in the economy.
Good. Thank you for that, Josh. We're actually going to go to Damon now. So Damon, what do you think? So you're going to help us with some of these loans and just kind of explain to us how somebody can apply, and maybe even not. I want you to promote your business for sure, but I also maybe just like where else they should be able to go, and where can they find resource to know, number one, like who should be applying for these, who should be applying for the loans, how can they apply, and then like who's it really going to help?
Sure, I appreciate that. And as I get into this, I do have one quick question for Josh before I get into what I'm going to talk about. And that is that I've heard, and maybe you can confirm this, that the agencies, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, may be allowing up to a 6-month deferment on people's personal mortgage payments without impact to their personal credit report. Have you heard anything about that?
I have not
heard anything
more than what you just stated.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna do some more work on that just to confirm that. But I'm already hearing some of the local banks here calling their customers and saying, "Don't pay me for 6 months." So that could be something that that we could try to get some more information out to our folks once that develops. But overall, from a business perspective, there are two main programs targeting the disaster recovery. The first one is a legacy program, which the people in the business call EIDL, EIDL, which is an economic injury disaster loan, is what that stands for. And that particular program, has been around and typically been used for agricultural disasters, floods, and that sort of thing, where people had specific targeted economic impact that they could prove, and they could apply for these EIDL loans or EIDL loans. So what that covers as it relates to coronavirus is a little bit broad right now. They say the funds can be used for any demonstrated loss related to corona. And who qualifies are typically the same folks who qualify for a standard SBA loan. But as Josh rightly pointed out, nonprofits seem to be able to be applying as well. So typical requirements are businesses with fewer than 500 employees. And I think there's going to be some relaxation when the final rules are written on what types of businesses can be a part of that. And a subset of that particular EIDL loan is what Josh referred to as money that you can get quickly. You might see it referred to as express bridge loan, but essentially it's money that is able to get moved out fast while the underwriting process goes on for the broader loan request and the broader review of the economic loss. So those particular loans have very favorable terms. The loans can go up to as much as $2 million. And the interest rates that are proposed for this are 3.75 for for-profit companies and 2.75 for nonprofit companies. And those will be based upon 30-year amortized terms. So again, pretty favorable terms for those particular loans. And overall, the repayment terms are going to be based on your ability to pay, because everybody knows there's a disaster that's gone on. I have heard for this particular loan product, there are 25,000-ish applications already in queue with the SBA for those particular loans, but the industry is estimating that is only about a 3-week backlog, but we will see, because I don't think they've seen this level of application volume. So the second program, which is the one that's being voted on in the House, is referred by a couple of names. Some places you'll see called the SBA 7A COVID-19 relief loan, also the payment or paycheck protection program. So this is the one that has elements of the forgiveness included in it. And what is designed by the bill writers and by the lawmakers to do is to really provide the ability to cover the expenses for a business owner for essentially an 8-week period from the forgiveness standpoint. But the loan eligibility is going to be based on a couple of things. The first thing it's going to be based on is the actual average monthly expenses of that particular business that is involved, and that is going to be targeted over what they typically spend for the costs that I'm going to give you here in a minute, but over the last year. So they'll come up with an average amount per month, and you'll be eligible for a loan size up to 2.5 times that. So for instance, if your average expenses are $100,000, you'd be eligible to apply for a loan for $250,000. So now let's talk about what's covered in that particular loan request. So right now the guidance is that it will cover payroll costs, employee benefits, commissions, interest payments on mortgages, rents, utilities, and even interest on debt obligations that have been incurred prior to the covered period, so prior to the February 15th date. So those are the items that will go into the calculation to determine your average monthly expenditures, and then essentially your loan request will be submitted and approved for 2.5 times that. That's the way I understand it. The good parts about this is that the loan is unsecured. Even though this is a SBA 7A loan, which is typically secured by real estate, this particular program is unsecured, and it does not require an owner's personal guarantee. So those are two nice portions of the bill. In addition to that, the bill offers up to 100% forgiveness of that particular loan, and the forgiveness is really a function of your ability to maintain the employees that you have on the books when the loan is taken out. So if the forgiveness is highly correlated to you keeping people and keeping your payrolls and those expenses at a similar level. And let's see, from an overall borrower perspective, one of the great things about this particular program is there are no payments due on this particular loan for the first 6 months. And as a part of the forgiveness, it not only would forgive that portion of the expenses you have for 8 weeks, it would also forgive the interest due associated with that. So the way the program appears to be designed is that any amount left over after your forgiveness would then be amortized over a 10-year period. So they would function as like a 10-year term loan. So the big question is, when is this going to be available? So this particular loan is going to be processed through standard SBA lenders, and they are still in the process of learning, what forms they need to complete, how the guarantees are going to work for them as a lender, how they're going to roll this program out. So what I'm hearing from my lenders is that they'll actually begin to be able to be processing these loans maybe as early as next Friday. However, in the meantime, we are actively working to begin to get folks that we know in queue for processing. So from our website, loanbids.com, we have a link there to a quick form which allows you to get in process, and we'll begin to work with you to get your documentation together, and so that the earliest possible moment those loans can begin to be processed. So that is the biggest challenge I see the programs have right now, is that literally there's going to be a tsunami of applications, and I believe our company will be able to help groom the requests for our clients and be able to hopefully get them through in a more expedited fashion than if you're trying to navigate this process on your own. So again, just to kind of summarize, 2 programs: the existing EIDL program, which is the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. That loan today, my understanding is that does not include the forgivability components. And then there's the 7A related relief loan with the payroll protection program, and that is the one that does have the forgivability components to that. So we're going to be working with businesses that request this type of loan and try to work through them and determine which option works best for them. So hopefully this has been helpful, and I'll turn it back over to Tom and Josh.
Yeah. So Damon, who should be applying for these? I guess. I mean, I think that's kind of like my question here is, should a business like mine that I don't really know yet if it's going to be affected, other than from just a disruption standpoint, and obviously we've had extra costs because of this. Right now we're not sure we're going to have to lay anybody off. Should every business be like thinking about this, or should just the businesses that are really highly affected from these, like your restaurants and your, you know, I mean, obviously one of my businesses is a vacation rental. We probably lost 20%, maybe 25% of all of our bookings that were on our books. So I mean, I can show and prove, hey, we lost a bunch of revenue from this. So who should be applying for these loans?
Well, here is what I would say, and I can use my own personal experience. I think there's a lot of business owners out there right now grappling with the idea of, do I lay people off, or do I try to keep them through this and maybe apply for this particular loan? You know, what I would say is, you know, like myself, I have a significant amount of people, and I'm going to be applying for the loan myself with the forgivability function to it, because I want to make sure that you know, that I have enough funds to be able to meet payroll for all my employees through this crisis. My guess is that, you know, the eight week amount, you know, could extend. You know, Congress may come back with a secondary bill that extends benefits further than where it is today. But I would say any business owner that's grappling with the question of, first of all, you know, do I keep my employees? Do I lay them off at this point? Is business going to return quickly, or will it be a long ways off? So if you have any of those questions about, do I lay off, do I keep?
Yeah,
I'd say get it.
As Josh said, everybody has those questions, right?
I would say yes. And if you got a forgivability function to it, you could potentially wind up with a windfall if you don't have the significant revenue decline. So, you know, again, I would say for that payment protection, almost every business that has employees, I don't see any harm with moving forward with that. Or the other group would be those that are actually have an economic disaster that has occurred. You know, inventory is spoiled, or something that's gone on that they can document as an economic disaster. And on that particular, you know, program, there's a lot of folks getting in line for that, because they're foreseeing that their business is going to be impacted in the future by what's going on, by revenues, you know, just pretty much shutting off, but still having the expense base. And my guess is that, you know, that loss of revenue is probably going to be considered, you know, an economic disaster, and for that particular program be made available for that idle loan. So a lot more to come as things develop. Like I said, I think this is a little bit of an initial stake in the ground that the government is making, but I think, you know, that there is a great possibility that things change, improve, and new proposals get made to go on top of the CARES package that Josh is talking about, and you know, additional supplements to these SBA loan programs.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Damon. Just kind of to wrap it all up, Josh, like so let me ask you the same question, because obviously your clients are going to probably be coming to you asking you that question, and what would you tell them? Who should be applying for these loans at this point? Josh?
Well, and I think, Damon, you said something here, and it sounds like it's something that just about every employer is going to want to consider pursuing, or at least considering.
I mean, anybody who is not like in the industries that are booming because of this, you know, so, you know, there are obviously going to be some businesses that are going to be benefiting from this.
Right. So those who have had an economic impact, or this is
a positive impact, they probably won't be applying for this,
right,
but almost pretty much everybody else.
Right. For most of us, and probably most of the people listening, our business has been negatively affected. And yeah, so it sounds like, from what I'm gathering, is that pretty much every business out there that's in that position should be considering, or you know, may want to consider pursuing this particular loan.
Yeah. So from most of our listeners are probably real estate. So I would say if you're a lender, you've been impacted, right, Damon? right? A
I'm
lender
sorry,
impacted. So if you're a lender, you've probably been impacted by this. If you're a property management company, you've probably been impacted. If you're, I don't know, construction, maybe, yes, no?
Well, I've talked to some construction workers, and they're struggling not because they're not permitted to work.
Other people are afraid to
Well, no,
to
they
do
can't.
stuff.
They can't pull permits. They can't.
Yeah,
They
cities
can't
have been
actually
shut
do
down.
right.
Yep.
Yeah.
So construction could possibly be, for us, if we own vacation rentals, obviously the hotel industry is getting slaughtered right now, so I just hope that helps you guys, and I hope that everybody out there is just thinking, should I do this or not? And if you guys are interested in that, you guys can go to loangoodbids.com and just kind of help with that, and also go to Josh, because you're going to need a lot of paperwork. So it's almost like you need an accountant, and you're going to need a place to be able to go to be able to make these things happen, right?
But Damon, they're still going to require, I'm assuming, PFS, personal financial statements, and that type of information in the process, right?
Yeah, there is definite information. The primary addition is going to be proof of your payroll. So they'll be looking at your last 12 months payroll reports in order to size that particular loan.
Right, because I think the amount, if I remember correctly, it's like 2.5 times their average payroll number, or something to that effect.
Well, it's 2.5 times the average payroll. They do exclude employees making over 100,000 from that, but it's all based on a formula off of the payroll reports for the last 12 months.
Right, so you're gonna need the business side and the personal side kind of together. It sounds like for the application process.
Yeah, and then it also, like I said, it covers mortgages, rents, utilities. So there'll be a verification process of all of those potential components that can be added into the loan amount.
Good deal.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, David, for that. Thank you, Josh, for giving us your scoop on the new package that's sitting on the president's desk, I think, right now, and hopefully will be signed today or maybe tomorrow. I don't know. Hopefully today. But I guess that's going to do it for today. I thank you guys so much for helping our listeners and helping me, honestly, personally. I'm probably going to go back and watch this a second time after, just to kind of be able to pay attention more and be able to take notes. And I think, Josh, we probably need to talk even in my own businesses about how maybe I should be applying for some of these loans and maybe some other things that we can take advantage of from a tax perspective as well. So that's going to do it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Remember to be a conduit, not a bucket. Work to have to give. Have a good day, guys.